When people talk about black wealth in America, they usually point to Hollywood or flashy southern suburbs. But New York is different. This is the financial nerve center of the planet, where power is built through equity, ownership, and access, not applause. What you're about to watch is a strategic look at some of the most influential black families connected to New York, based on public reporting, market patterns, and long-running business histories. From Harlem media architects and Wall Street titans to infrastructure billionaires and cultural dynasties, these families didn't just get rich, they rewired the rooms where wealth is decided. Number 10. The Sutton family, the architects of Harlem. To understand black wealth in New York, you cannot start with the billionaires. You have to start with the architects. You have to start with the Suttons. Before there was a black billionaire class, there was Percy Sutton. He wasn't just a businessman, he was the political and financial godfather of Harlem. The Sutton family story is the blueprint for how black power was built in the 20th century. Percy Sutton, a former Manhattan borough president, understood early on that political influence without economic ownership was fragile. So, he built a fortress. In 1971, he co-founded Inner City Broadcasting Corporation. This wasn't a small radio operation. It was a media empire that bought WLIB-AM and WBLS-FM, turning them into the voice of Black New York. For decades, if you wanted to reach the Black community in the tri-state area, you had to go through the Suttons. But their smartest move was real estate. In 1981, when Harlem was crumbling and major investors were fleeing the neighborhood, Percy Sutton stepped in and saved the Apollo Theater from bankruptcy. He transformed a decaying landmark into a profitable television production studio. The show, It's Showtime at the Apollo, didn't just launch careers. It created a syndication revenue stream that fed the family for years. The Suttons represent old money Harlem, the kind of wealth that doesn't need to shout because it owns the block. Number 9. The Lee family, Spike Lee and Tanya Lewis Lee. In New York, real estate is the ultimate scorecard. And almost no one played the real estate game with as much artistic foresight as the Lee family. Spike Lee is known as the director who put Brooklyn on the cinematic map. But financially, his masterstroke was buying into the Upper East Side long before it was common for black creatives to hold court there. In 1998, Spike Lee purchased a historic townhouse on East 63rd Street for $16.6 million. This isn't just a house. It is a 9,000-square-foot mansion centered around a private courtyard, originally built for the Vanderbilt family. It is one of the crown jewels of Manhattan residential real estate. When it briefly hit the market a few years ago, the asking price was $32 million, a testament to the asset appreciation that defines New York wealth. But the Lee fortune is a dual-income empire. Tanya Lewis. Lee is a powerhouse attorney, producer, and author who has carved out her own lucrative lane in corporate consulting and media production. Together, they operate like a modern power couple, leveraging their cultural capital into equity. Spike's business model is unique because he bet on himself. By retaining ownership of his production company, 40 Acres and a Mule Filmworks, he captures the back-end profits of his projects. They split their time between the Upper East Side mansion and a sprawling estate in Martha's Vineyard. The Lee family proves that cultural genius, when paired with smart asset acquisition, creates a level of stability that can withstand the fickle nature of Hollywood. Number 8. The Dean family, Alicia Keys and Swizz Beatz. Most celebrities collect cars. The Dean family, Alicia Keys and Kasim Swizz Beatz Dean, collect history. While they are globally famous for their music, their financial portfolio is surprisingly sophisticated, anchored in one of the most valuable private art collections in the world. The Dean Collection is not a hobby. It is a high-yield asset class. For over 20 years, Swizz Beatz has been acquiring works by black masters like Gordon Parks, Kehinde Wiley, and Jean-Michel Basquiat. In the art world, these pieces have appreciated aggressively. By owning the largest private holding of Gordon Parks photography, the Deans have effectively cornered a market on black history. They don't just hang this art, they loan it to museums, increasing its provenance and value. Their real estate moves are equally strategic. While they famously own the Razor House in California, Their roots and business operations are deeply tied to New York. They own a massive compound in Englewood, New Jersey, a quick helicopter ride from Manhattan, formerly owned by Eddie Murphy. But the real wealth engine here is intellectual property. Swizz Beatz co-created Verzoos during the pandemic. It started as an Instagram battle and ended as a multi-million-dollar acquisition by the Triller network, with Swizz and Timbaland retaining equity. This move, turning a viral moment into a tech equity liquidity event, is what separates the Deans from standard music stars. Number 7. The Graves family, Earl Graves Jr. If you want to know how black wealth in America learned to count its money, you have to look at the Graves family. Earl Graves Sr. founded Black Enterprise magazine in 1970. At the time, corporate America didn't believe black people had money. Graves spent decades proving them wrong, building a media Bible that taught generations how to invest, save, and build businesses. But the Graves family didn't just write about wealth, they accumulated it. The family's fortune expanded into lucrative franchises. Earl Graves Sr. partnered with Magic Johnson to build a massive bottling operation, a deal valued at $60 million, which created the largest minority-controlled Pepsi franchise in the United States. Today, the family is led by Earl Butch Graves Jr., who has transitioned the business into the digital age. Their status is symbolized by their real estate footprint in Westchester County. The family estate in Scarsdale is legendary, a symbol of black executive achievement in one of New York's most exclusive suburbs. They also move heavily in the private equity space. By hosting the Black Enterprise Entrepreneur Summit, the Graves family controls the premier networking nodes for black CEOs. They effectively own the Rolodex of black corporate America. This is access wealth. The Graves family can pick up the phone and reach any CEO, politician, or banker in the country. In New York, that level of access is worth more than gold. Number 6. The Parsons family, Richard Parsons. There is Rich, and then there is chairman of the board, Rich. Richard Dick. Parsons belongs to the latter category. You might not see him in music videos, but Richard Parsons has run more of New York than almost anyone on this list. He is the former chairman of Citigroup, one of the world's largest banks, and the former chairman and CEO of Time Warner, the parent company of HBO, Warner Brothers, and CNN. When you run companies of that size, your compensation packages are astronomical. During his tenure at Time Warner and Citi, Parsons accumulated stock options, bonuses, and golden parachutes worth hundreds of millions. But Parsons is also a master of the second act. After leaving the C-suite, he didn't retire. He bought a vineyard in Tuscany, Il Palazzone, turning a passion for wine into a luxury export business. He also owns high-end restaurants in Harlem, reinvesting his corporate millions into the revitalization of the neighborhood. The Parsons family wealth is significant because it represents the pinnacle of the corporate ascent. He didn't start a business in a garage. He climbed to the top of the biggest skyscrapers in Manhattan and ran them. He sits on the boards of major foundations and has the ear of presidents. This is quiet establishment power. Number 5. The Chenault family, Ken Chenault. If Richard Parsons is the king of media and banking, Ken Chenault is the emperor of credit. As the former CEO and chairman of American Express, Ken Chenault was one of the first black men to lead a Fortune 500 company. For 17 years, he ran the company that defines luxury spending. Under his leadership, American Express didn't just survive the 2008 financial crisis, it thrived. And Chenault was rewarded handsomely. His retirement package alone was valued in the tens of millions, and his stock holdings in Amex are worth hundreds of millions. But here is where the story gets interesting. Most CEOs retire to play golf. Chenault went to Silicon Valley. He became the chairman and managing director of General Catalyst, a venture capital firm with $25 billion in assets under management. He is now one of the key gatekeepers deciding which tech startups get funded. The Chenaults live the quintessential New York old money lifestyle. They own a stunning $7.6 million estate in Sag Harbor, a historic black enclave in the Hamptons. This isn't a flashy new build. It's a tasteful, sprawling compound where they host the Obamas and the Clintons. They also maintain a luxury residence in Manhattan. Ken's wife, Ken Chenault, is a major force in the philanthropic world. The Chenaults and the Parsons prove that you don't need to be an entertainer to build a $500 million fortune. You need to understand how to read a balance sheet and how to acquire assets. If you want to understand the same financial principles that guided these titans, I've tagged a list of essential business biographies and wealth-building books right here on the screen. Click the View Products button to start building your own library of success. Number 4. The Ogunlesi family. Adebayo Ogunlesi. Now, we enter the billionaire bracket. And we start with the man who is perhaps the biggest ghost in New York finance. You probably haven't heard of Adebayo Ogunlesi, but you definitely use the things he owns. Ogunlesi is a Nigerian-born lawyer and investment banker who climbed the ranks of Credit Suisse before founding Global Infrastructure Partners, GIP. This firm is headquartered in New York, but it owns the world. Ogunlesi is the man who bought London City Airport. He bought Gatwick Airport. He essentially buys the plumbing of the global economy. In January 2024, Ogunlesi made financial history when he sold Global Infrastructure Partners to BlackRock for $12.5 billion. Let me repeat that. $12.5 billion. As part of the deal, Ogunlesi joined BlackRock's board and became one of its largest individual shareholders. His personal net worth is conservatively estimated by Forbes at $2.5 billion. But given the structure of the BlackRock deal, his true influence is likely much higher. He lives in New York City with a lifestyle that is intensely private. No reality shows, no Instagram flexes, just massive, quiet power. He is the ultimate insider. The Ogunlesi family represents the highest level of immigrant success in New York. From Lagos to Harvard Law to owning airports, it is a trajectory that is almost unmatched in modern finance. Number 3. The Lewis family. The estate of Reginald F. Lewis. Before there was Robert F. Smith or Adebayo Ogunlesi, there was Reginald F. Lewis. In the 1980s, a black man doing a billion-dollar leveraged buyout was unheard of. Reginald Lewis didn't care. He executed the $985 million takeover of Beatrice International Foods, becoming the first black American to build a billion-dollar company. Although Reginald passed away tragically young in 1993, with a personal fortune of $400 million, he left behind a fortress of wealth that his family has defended and expanded for 30 years. His widow, Louisa Nicholas Lewis, and their daughters Leslie and Christina are fixtures of New York society. They manage the family office from Manhattan, overseeing investments, real estate, and philanthropy. The Lewis family's wealth is legendary. They famously owned a massive estate in East Hampton known as Broadview, which they sold for huge sums. They maintain luxury residences in Manhattan that are filled with museum-quality art. But their real power is in their legacy. Louisa Lewis took over the company after her husband's death and ran it successfully, proving she was just as sharp a shark as he was. Daughter Christina Lewis has launched multifamily offices and tech investment firms. The Lewis family is New York royalty. Number 2. The Smith family. Robert F. Smith. While Robert F. Smith is often associated with Denver, his footprint in New York is so massive and expensive that he effectively operates as a New Yorker at the highest level. Robert F. Smith is the wealthiest black man in America. He made his fortune by founding Vista Equity Partners, a firm that buys enterprise software companies, fixes them, and sells them for billions. But let's talk about his New York real estate because it set a record that shook the city. In 2018, Smith purchased the penthouse at the Getty Building in Chelsea for $59 million. It was, at the time, the most expensive purchase in the history of downtown Manhattan. This isn't just an apartment. It is the top 3 floors of an architectural masterpiece designed by Peter Marino. It has its own private pool, massive terraces, and views that stretch from the Statue of Liberty to the Empire State Building. He didn't stop there. He bought other units in the building to house his security and staff. He essentially bought the building. Smith serves as the chairman of Carnegie Hall, one of New York's most prestigious cultural institutions. This position is usually reserved for the old guard of white New York society, the Rockefellers and the Carnegies. For a black man to take that seat signifies a complete shift in the power dynamics of the city. The Smith family wealth is so vast that it bends reality. He paid off the student loans of the entire graduating class of Morehouse College without blinking. In New York, he moves through the city not just as a billionaire, but as a historical figure in real time. Number 1. The Carter family, Jay-Z and Beyoncé. And finally, at number 1, the King and Queen of New York, the Carters, Sean, Jay-Z. Carter and Beyoncé. Knowles Carter are not just the richest black family in New York, they are the most culturally significant billionaires in the world. Their combined net worth is estimated to hover around $3 billion, with Jay-Z personally valued at $2.5 billion by Forbes. But what makes them number 1 isn't just the number, it's how they made it. Jay-Z didn't get rich from rapping. He got rich by using rap to get into rooms where he could buy businesses. He bought Armand de Brignac, Ace of Spades, champagne when it was unknown, made it a global luxury icon, and sold 50% of it to LVMH for over $300 million. He partnered with Bacardi to launch Douce Cognac, later selling a controlling stake for a reported $750 million. He even turned a failing streaming service, Tidal, into a massive exit, selling it to Jack Dorsey's block for nearly $300 million. And then there is the real estate. The Carters essentially treat New York City like a monopoly board. They own a massive penthouse in Tribeca at 195 Hudson Street, the scene of their private wedding. They purchased a $26 million estate in East Hampton on Georgica Pond. Beyoncé adds her own massive revenue streams through touring. The Renaissance World Tour grossed over $500 million, and her Parkwood Entertainment Company. Together, they are a two-person GDP. They employ hundreds of people. The Carters sit at number 1 because they completed the ultimate New York arc. Jay-Z went from selling drugs in the Marcy projects to owning a penthouse that looks down on them. They represent the total conquest of the American dream. Talent, converted into ownership, cemented into dynasty. From legacy Harlem power brokers to corporate chairmen, private equity billionaires, and culture-shaping dynasties, one pattern is consistent. In New York, labor can make you successful, but equity makes you permanent. These families built wealth by owning assets, controlling distribution, and compounding influence across decades. Not every figure here discloses exact personal net worth, and some details are best understood as reported estimates. But the direction of power is clear. Which family impressed you most? The stealth infrastructure operators or the cultural empire builders? Drop it in the comments. Subscribe to Black Status for more deep dives into Black wealth across America's most powerful cities.